Greetings, travelers. We're in Suwatch, Colorado. It's on the northwest corner of the San Luis Valley. It's a lovely little town. About 550 people live here. This is where you get your gas and other supplies. And it's a nice little place, but I like to stop here for Gillette's American Museum. And there's Mr. Gillette right now. Let's go inside real quick. We'll come back out for more of these vehicles. Here's Chief Gillette.
Retired.
Retired. How are you doing, sir?
Good.
Love your museum. Can we go inside? We'll come back out for these.
Yep.
I saw so many good things inside. Private MacGyver was the driver on, and Sergeant Kilroy was there.
Well, that's just because MacGyver is how things get going.
Get done.
And Kilroy was the inspector. So.
And you say you've been here 12 years?
Yeah.
And that's an Army chief, not a Navy chief.
Well, I think for a long time it was mostly in the Army side on the chief program. They were commissioned like in the World War I timeline to be the go-between between the dock workers and the officers on how to lay the mines in the harbor.
I see.
Because that was like a new technology that wasn't working real good. They didn't communicate well. But you have Navy chiefs, of course, and then the Marines have chiefs, and now the Air Force had done away with warrant officers, but they brought them back. There's kind of two different grades of chief. You have the chiefs that are pilots, a lot of them, especially in the Army, and then you have the ground warrants. They're the subject matter expert on whatever that is. For myself, I was a weapons expert, so I was at 913 armament warrant. But it's kind of a collage in here. I was doing retail when I retired about 12 years ago, opened this shop up, and it just was such a pain to do anything commercial with all the paperwork and everything. And a buddy of mine talked me into, well, the better plan for retirement is quit working. So we just call it a museum. And the idea is really to educate that next generation of kids.
It's wonderful.
You know, if they can see it, they can learn so much in minutes compared to years in school. And even if they do learn about it later, well, if they've actually seen an example, boy, it rings home. It's like, well, yeah, I saw one of those. That's a real deal.
Let's talk about the Rat Patrol, the old TV series. That wasn't, what was their official name in the North?
Rat Patrol, I think there probably was one of the sections or units of those guys in the Long Range Desert Group.
Long Range Desert Group.
LRDG, that was the real basic Rat Patrol guys.
Right.
And anything else was more like of a squadron or a nickname kind of thing. They were an offshoot of the British SAS.
SAS.
They were largely British Special Forces groups.
And we have a 30 cal and a 50? Is that correct?
Well, what you'll get is...
Straighten me out.
For me, when I set up displays, I try to go from pictures.
Right.
And these guys are airborne, so they're jumping in, they got nothing. So they're putting these Jeeps together with whatever they can beg, borrow, or steal. And with that group, there's probably a lot of stealing, but they would use it. This was like a German MG-34.
Okay.
If it worked and it had ammo, they'd mount it on a Jeep.
I got you.
And this 50 cal here would be like the M3s that were in the airplanes.
Right.
If you think about each fighter that went down, there was 3 of those in each wing.
Right.
The plane would be trashed if they crashed, but you could almost always salvage that gun.
I got you.
And it was built in 1921 originally as an anti-tank machine gun, so it was pretty light for head-to-head with tank warfare in World War II, but it is a very powerful, tough gun. And if you got behind any of the tanks, that would still take them out. That was always your weak link, is the engine compartment's in the back. Don't go head-to-head with a tank, but if you got behind it, you could shoot right into the engine.
And this idea of taking a Jeep, putting guns on it, and roaming around the desert, SAS started that?
Well, they were roaming around everywhere. They had that mission in the desert. Now, we had Americans over there, too. I think we might have augmented them some, but largely that whole program of the Rat Patrol or the LRDG that took out Rommel in North Africa were British, New Zealand, and Australian.
Gotcha. Can we check out your gun safe? Come,
Well, that's,
come look at this, people. You think you got a gun safe at home? You think you're set? Check this thing
We'll
out.
call it the gun library.
It's a gun library.
But the big thing is, if you have a larger collection and stuff, it's not that bad to take and dedicate and secure a room, put a steel door on it, and then you can walk into it. And it's a lot more fun to maintain, examine, and study what you have for weapon systems.
Wonderful.
What's in
Nice.
here are all of the cartridge guns that our military's used from the Civil War on up through.
On up.
Now, up through this M14 type system, those are all American progression. Then it gets into the British stuff. There's Swiss, there's German, Russian, Japanese, and most of these guns back here, after you get into like the 1903 type, are World War II, World War I, World War II type weapons.
Gotcha. There's that, look at that, I'm calling this a M1 carbine.
Yes and no. M1 is what it's based on, but they classify it as an M3 carbine. That was actually our first type of night vision optics that are on top of that.
Wow.
Now, I thought it was like Vietnam, and I've recently found, no, actually that goes back to Okinawa, World War II.
I gotcha.
They were used in Korea. I think it was kind of borderline classified. Not many people knew about it.
Right.
And it was almost probably obsolete by Vietnam, but you use whatever you got.
But the Army came out with the carbine because it was lighter. It was supposed to replace the pistol. Officers used them.
Drivers,
cavalry, Jeep guys, drivers, like you said. And General Motors made them.
Everybody made them.
Everybody
there was
made
11 different manufacturers of the M1 carbine.
I see.
All the carbines made that were U.S. were made in the World War II timeline.
I see.
But yeah, any of the main companies, the one that always cracked me up was IBM.
They made some.
Well, yeah, but what's that stand for? International Business Machine. And let me tell you, that's quite the International Business Machine.
Now we got on top of this, describe this big guy here.
Okay. Well,
with a scope.
That's a Browning 50 caliber machine gun. That was your standard field model of the 50 caliber. M2HB for heavy barrel. That's a heavier barrel system than the aircraft gun.
I got you.
More durable, longer rate of fire. But this particular gun is set up like Carlos Hathcock's sniper model in Vietnam. Carlos Hathcock was the big dog sniper. He wrote the book, literally. I mean, when it comes to sniping, he was very successful. They had bounties on his head. It was always, they recognized him as White Feather or Latrang. That was the story, that he would leave this white feather on kills, and it would just totally spook the locals. They're kind of superstitious.
Was that before they would left playing cards on the body?
That kind of happened over there following his lead. But this gun...
let's move quickly at this Thompson here. Yeah. Is that what I'm calling that?
Well, your follow-up, you want to get on this with Hathcock.
Oh, yes.
This one's set up as a sniper model. He actually took one of these, set up as a sniper weapon, and was using it out to 1,600 yards in Vietnam. So he was one of the first guys doing that super long range stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, these are your World War II main kind of submachine guns.
This is a
Thompson and the M1 A1.
Sarge in combat carried one.
Yep. And there's another one there, and there's your Russian version of World War II, their PPSH, I think it was. And then down below, that's the Schmeiser that the Germans used.
Nice.
And all those guns were still in use up into Vietnam, and I think a number of the countries are still using the Russian and the German stuff today. The interesting part here, though, there's a little picture in the corner. That's me firing an M3 grease gun, they called them.
Yes. From
World War II. And that's where we may have screwed up. That's a really plain, cheap to manufacture gun,
right?
But it worked very well. And in World War II, it cost $5 to make that gun, and it cost $250 to make the Thompson.
Wow.
The Thompson's premier for quality, but we would have been better off with more numbers.
This is the grease gun?
Yep.
That's an exploded view.
And we were still using them in the 80s when I was part of a tank command with the cavalry.
And
This would be your Browning 30 caliber machine gun. Goes back to about 1917, originally with water cooled. And then this is a later model that's got the air cooled barrel on it.
nice. And let's see if I can get this rack here.
Well, those are training rifles. I
Down
worked
here?
a lot with the marksmanship unit in the military, and a 22 rifle worked just fine to train people on sight alignment, basic marksmanship skills.
Right.
When you have a new shooter, you're way better off to start
Starting
with that than to jump right into with a.
Now here's a couple of Vietnam classics, isn't it?
Well, these are all your different series of the M16 type rifle. This
Right.
would be like your M16A1 they used in Vietnam, and then up into the Kuwait and later Cold Wars. That was the next series up, the A2, and then they went into the A4s. Mostly they just changed optics and sight systems on it. The basic principle of the gun stayed the same all the way up to the little M4 carbine that's similar to what they're using today.
Right. And these on this rack, I see a couple of shotguns.
Well, the first part of this, these are just kind of some of the sporting rifles you would have found over there in the time. These are carbines that were commonly used by all the different countries. You know, the Italians, the Russians. This is a Japanese carbine. There's a 98 German carbine. They got into these SKS type rifles in the communist bloc, Russia and China. And there's our M1 carbine. And then you get into the shotguns. I think every pump shotgun this country ever made was used by the military at some point in time.
Yes.
People kind of think about the Model 12s and the 97s.
Right.
But you know,
The
there's a
old
Model
pump.
10, there's Ithacas, there's Remingtons. One of the best was probably the Remington 870.
Right.
You name it, they used it.
It's a wonderful, wonderful gun locker.
Now here, contrary to popular belief, these are what your real cowboy guns look like. When they settled this country, the Colts and the Winchesters everybody thinks about with Hollywood,
Right.
they weren't even invented. They didn't come along really till after the Civil War.
Right.
Well, they settled this country in the 1840s, 50s, and 60s, and they were dirt poor farmers. Well, this is the brown vest like they used in the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you get anything with a flintlock in 1840 was completely obsolete. So those farmers and ranchers could get this for nothing.
I see.
And that's what they had, was nothing.
And that's a smooth bore.
Yep. Now this would be, is a percussion rifled piece.
Hawken or
Well, it's kind of in that neighborhood, a little bit lighter. It's more like a Pennsylvania rifle.
Right.
There's a lot of different names for
Kentucky
essentially the same. But if they're going to hunt big game, buffalo, or even a frontiersman, they might have something like that because that's our main piece of equipment.
and you have a little shrine to John. There's a little shrine to
It
John.
kind of breaks my heart, but the kids today don't know who John Wayne was. The greatest patriot we ever had, and he really tells the American story better than anybody ever did.
Yes.
But he did a lot of filming out in this country. So he has kind of a historical significance to the area as well.
Very nice. Very nice. Will a MP let me in here?
Well, if you behave. They'll pat you down before you come out, probably. But
He's wearing a mask. Wow. Look at this room.
well, it's another collage.
Where do you want to
that,
start? I'll follow you.
Well, it kind of, in this area, we try to have some Native American stuff. They go back a long time, obviously, in this region.
Good golly, what size gun is that?
Well, that's what they called a punt gun or market hunting gun.
Okay.
And they were originally used for, shooting large quantities of ducks and geese. This is a major flyway. And when they say market hunting, it was because back in the day, they didn't have a grocery store. So you'd have guys and they'd go out, shoot dozens or hundreds of ducks and geese, and they'd take them to town and trade
I see.
as a food item.
Wow.
But they found even by 1865, they were so devastating, they were obsolete, outlawed for use in the field. But then the Native Americans, as I understand it, actually start getting a hold of them and using them for defensive guns for their villages.
Right.
Because if you fill that full of buckshot, it's still a very effective.
It's a
defensive
cannon.
weapon.
It's a cannon.
Yeah.
Oh, we have special ops over here.
Well, special child maybe, but This was,
Special needs?
yeah, pretty much my uniform from Iraq. That's everyday what we wore: the body armor, the helmets, the gear. And
This is a sling, but also kind of keep the dust out
well,
of.
it was really dusty, obviously, in Iraq. So
Right.
we had these covers that were made, and it's just with Velcro.
Right.
So we just leave it on all the time. But if you had to, you just grab the top, rip it off, and you're ready to go, and your gun wasn't covered in dust.
Wow. That's
But
nice.
this little rig here, you're looking at about 70 pounds of body armor
Yes.
every day.
Every
and
day.
then a helmet and your radio and
Knee
your rifle.
pads,
Yeah.
everything. Wow.
Now, a lot of people are kind of familiar with the Chris Kyle story,
Yes.
the American Sniper. Well, he was leaving country when I was coming in. He was coming back when I was going out. And everything in that movie is very spot on accurate. The names, the places, the events. It's almost spooky for me. But in the movie, they always talked about this al-Zarqawi. That was the top ISIS leader they were always looking for.
Right.
Well, that's a wanted poster for him.
Oh, wow.
That I brought back when we would hand them out every time we went outside the wire. This Iraqi license plate, pretty scarce because it's an ISIS copy.
Oh.
They would hand stamp and paint them, put them on the front of these vehicles to try to get closer to our convoys.
Wow. And this weapon here?
Well, that would be your M60 machine gun. They've pretty well outdated now. It was real big in Vietnam, and we used them all the way up into the 2000s when I was there in Iraq. They had a better gun replaced at the 240. But this shield, you hear people talk about hillbilly armor. Well, there's what you'd like to have and what you got. We couldn't get enough gun shields, so this is one we had made for us in Iraq. Of course, when you get back, because it wasn't mil-spec, it's like, yeah, throw it away.
Throw it away.
Yeah.
Wow. And we have here.
Well, that would be an 1862 Gatling gun. That would be a blueprint copy of the very first Gatling guns.
Okay.
It was black powder.
Oh, wow.
Percussion cap, your regular powder ball charge that you'd use in a regular Springfield rifle.
Right.
But they only made 10 of these because they were obsolete almost as quick as they got it patent.
Right.
And then they revamped it to take cartridges, and then
gotcha.
the rest was history. But when do you think the first electric Gatling gun came out?
World War II. Korean War. I don't know.
It was patented in 1898, electric, 3,000 rounds a minute, 30 caliber.
Oh, my.
So the question is, why did it take us 50, 60 years to use them? And the doctor's whole idea was to create something so devastating, it would have obsoleted that Napoleonic fighting where they stood up and shot each other down. Because if it took longer to stand them up than it did to shoot them down, it'd have been futile.
Yes. And here's an interesting gun here. Is this British?
No, the
What
British
is-
had one with a big flat drum on top that was 3 layers thick. This would be the Russian cruiser piece, 7.6254. I believe they started using them in the World War II timeline and all the way up into Vietnam, and they're probably using them in Iraq right now.
And demonstration model of the Grand?
Well, if you think about the cowboys and ranchers going to World War II, they still probably didn't have a Winchester at home. They're still dirt poor, and they can't read or write. So how are you going to train up millions of soldiers with modern weapons? Well, they made these oversized training aids so they could show people.
Wow.
You'd have an instructor up there, the troops out there,
Right.
and pull this back, lift this up. If you told them, they got it right away.
That's wonderful. We have a deep sea diving bell, a helmet.
Yep, it's just a copy of one, but it kind of gives kids an idea, you know, and they all kind of latch onto it right away. It's like, well, gee, that would be heavy. You know, when you're talking, that would have been made out of bronze. It's probably 100 pounds for just the helmet.
Right.
And then your suit and your weighted belt and all that.
Look at
And then
these.
have them lower you down into the ocean.
Look at these aircraft outfits.
Well, yeah, any of the air crews, people don't think about it, but those bombers, they had those waist gunners. There's no cabin pressure. You are either
You're freezing.
or burning all the time.
Wow.
And I think in most cases it was freezing. But the interesting part I've noted is they were electrified.
Warm
Well,
suits.
they were trying. I don't
Trying.
know how well it worked, but they were trying.
Wonderful.
That was my.
Look at that big one up there. What is that thing?
Well, that would be a Prussian converted flintlock from the Civil War.
Wow.
I tracked back in Iowa, where I'm from. They actually had, I think, 500 of these Prussian carbines that the cavalry and infantry used, and then they had the regular rifles, about 1,500 that the infantry guys used.
Wow.
This is the wife's uniform. We were both actually Air Force security police originally about 40 years ago, and didn't take long to figure out that's not a good way to raise a family. So she got out, started raising the kids, and then I went to work for the Army side in more of the weapons category.
Spike protection.
Vietnam, they had all those, you hear about the bungee pits and all these
Bungee
things
pits,
and all
yes.
these straps. And so they just made that thin piece of sheet metal to slide in the bottom of their boot. And it was just enough. By the time something went through the sole, it hit that. It generally would not penetrate.
Wow. Holy cow. Here's a gal.
That's your more modern uniform, MP here in the Valley. She was over there in Iraq.
Well.
And there's a Settlemental Journey is one of the B-17s that's still flying.
Wow.
And now I had a great uncle that was a waist gunner, went down. I didn't really have any, he died long before I was born, any background on him, but I thought I should have something to do with the bombers. And so I liked that plane, and I had a jacket made to match. And now the guy that does the restoration nose art on these planes painted that jacket for me.
Oh, wonderful.
And the better part is, it's in my size, because those guys were little.
Yes.
But there was one B-52, or well, actually started out in the 17 pilot from World War II that was 6'6", and he flew 36 missions.
Wow.
But I don't think I'll ever get his coat. That would have been Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, yes, he was a pilot.
Yep. And beyond that, he stayed in until Vietnam, and his last mission was as a general officer on a B-52.
Well, let's pause it here and go into the what was it, the room where you do gunsmithing?
Yeah.
And now we're in the gunsmithing room.
Well,
Tell
my
us about
main forte before, during, and after the military was weapons and weapons maintenance and repair. Starting out, I fixed everything, all the civilian guns and the military guns and whatever we come across. Getting into the military, I was focused more, of course, just on the military weapons. And then getting out, I was back to, well, in today's world, there's all those old military rifles that people sporterize to make hunting guns out of.
Mm-hmm.
So now the idea is to find them and restore them back. We made millions, but we destroyed millions. But it's amazing, these older pieces like that trapdoor and that vise there, those parts on those guns made from 1873 to 1888 will all completely interchange.
Wow.
It's like they were molded. I mean, the machining and the quality control was just unprecedented.
Do you find modern hunters like to use these old guns and go out on a weekend hunt and claim a deer or moose with an old gun?
Some, but not as many.
Okay.
I'm afraid most of the new generation, they're all focused on a big trophy to hang on the wall, and then they want to go back to the bar.
And they want a gun that's easy to clean and just put it away.
But myself, I still use an 1886 model Winchester 4570 for all my big game hunting.
Nice.
It just works awesome.
And this is a parts catalog of some sort?
Well, I was kind of training up my grandson on gunsmithing, and I've done it for my whole life, so I know what the parts are just to look at them.
Right.
But for him, it's a little bit of a challenge.
Sure.
So I found this card file. In each drawer is a different make and model of firearm.
Nice.
So if he needs a part, you just kind of go to that drawer, and if we got it, it'll be in there.
Be there.
And if we don't have it,
I see.
so that it kind of keeps it segregated. There's the old Winchester stuff, and
excuse me, I just couldn't help see this photograph.
Mm-hmm.
What is he shooting there?
Well, that Browning 50 caliber that's in there.
Yeah.
It's a field carriage that you could pull behind a Jeep.
Right.
Or, you could have that gun mounted on it, and one guy could just pick it up and go with it.
Wow.
So you'd have really quick deployment.
Right.
I've never seen one other than these pictures, but I always thought that's what we really, really needed bad in real world, because that's a 100-pound gun, and you got the ammo and everything.
Yeah.
And you could deploy it real quick and easily that way.
Just some of the parts. You got spare parts, triggers,
Yeah. Well, we'll work
receivers, and
I've got
barrels.
leftovers from the sporting guns, but I still have, like, these are all Japanese parts, and then there's some of the British military parts.
It's wonderful. Can I step over here?
Sure.
I wanted to see these pistols. I just want to stay in here for days and work on something. Give me something to work on. Get these pistols up here. Tell us about these pistols.
Well, those are what we would actually call Saturday night specials. They were 65 cents to $1 when they were new 120 years ago.
Wow.
It's kind of what the cowboys would buy when they're going to town to raise cane.
Yeah.
They'd buy one of those and they'd have a gun with them.
Right.
But by and large, they were still pretty dirt poor, so the cowboys were actually more likely to have something like that than they would a Colt or something.
Right. So,
And there was a lot of pretty big famous shootouts at the end of the day. That's actually what they had.
and some of those could fit in your boot.
Oh yeah, it's a pocket pistol.
Or
per
in
se.
your pocket or something.
There's small copies of like the Smith & Wesson Schofields and different
So you
name brand guns.
So the Hollywood perception or representation of double holstered Colts on your hip, walking into town, you'd be more likely to have one of those on you.
Well, in perspective, when Colt single actions were invented, it was about 3 years' wages
Oh, God.
for a cowboy to buy a Colt or a Winchester.
Right.
So, needless to say, yeah, they were more likely to have something like this.
Right. It's very good. Let's pause it here.
Really interesting.
Now, before we go outside, let's look at this world map. These pins represent people who have been in this museum and where they're from.
And I just put one for each country, and a lot of those there have been multiples of.
Multiples?
We get a lot of the French in here. We get a lot of Europeans in here. But it's just amazing. We'd get Russians and Chinese and some of these other countries that, Dubai, it's hard to believe. Like I was talking to you earlier, I think a woman was in here last week. She drove up from Brazil. That's a long drive from here.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
It's what we call the contact truck in the military. We built maintenance vehicles to go to the site and repair things out right there. Well, this is a duplicate of what would have been probably the first contact truck. It was just for fixing small arms, but that was like at Camp Perry, Ohio. You go to the matches, there's 1,000 shooters there.
Right.
So be able to fix things right on site was really handy.
And get back out on the range.
Back then, it was just a matter of at the range, but they worked so well that by World War II, there was a whole family of maintenance vehicles built on the back of 2.5 and 5-ton trucks, so they could fix electronics and machining and automotive, anything that needed mechanical repair, they could do it right on site.
Wow.
And I worked on the modern versions of them in Iraq, and they worked really, really well.
Nice.
We had everything we wanted, so you pull up, you flip her down, and it's on a 5-ton truck, so we had a little bit more room. But
Right.
we had electronic kind of stuff and weapons and scopes and the guns, and it was kind of a neat deal.
Now, when I came here last year, I thought maybe you buy, sell, trade. None of this is for sale.
No, we tried that for a while, but again, it's all the paperwork. If you sell more than 5 vehicles a year, you got to have a dealer license.
And then did people come to you and say, I've got a great Jeep, do you want to buy it?
Yeah.
And they would do that.
Well, I started here 12 years ago with 3 vehicles.
Right.
And they were Army Jeeps that are out here. And then people started seeing that. It's like, well, I've got one of those. Are you interested? And then it just kind of exploded from there.
Now, is this the M37?
Yep.
Now, a special shout out, as the kids say, to Max Caps, lives in Northern California. And back in the 70s and 80s, he had one of these, a green one,
Yeah.
in Berkeley, California. And we used to get in that thing and drive around Berkeley, of all places, with helmets and beers, and put the windshield down onto the hood.
Yeah.
And we just had a ball in that thing. It would get into mud holes, but wouldn't stay long.
And they're almost kid safe. It's like a tank with wheels. They're just a really tough truck.
And what size motor would that be? Do you know?
They'd had a 6-cylinder in there. You know,
A straight 6?
Yep.
Ford or what? Who?
Well, it would have been mostly Dodge.
Mostly Dodge.
Yep.
A straight 6?
Yep. Probably not more than would be like a
Now this
263 or something.
this is his older brother?
Well, this is a GMC. This would be a World War II series. Normally what they call a 2.5 ton or a deuce and a half.
Deuce and a half?
But this one has a solid axle, which means it was designed for just the road.
Just the road.
The suspension on all of them was heavy enough for 5 tons, but if they were going off-road, they would only rate them for 2.5 tons so they didn't get stuck.
I gotcha.
Now, something's kind of crazy is if you look on the back, there's a Jeep and a crate.
Yes, I see something's in there.
Well, the standing joke forever was to buy the new in the crate Army Jeep for $50. Now, they actually did sell those, and that is how they were crated.
Wow.
And I've seen pictures of 7,000 of these stacked on top in one big block.
Wow.
Well, after World War II, they had to take delivery. So they took delivery, and that's where the $50 Jeeps come from. They wanted to blow them out.
I see.
They just wanted to get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
But out here, okay, it's cheap. It's got a motor in it compared to a mule team. A whole bunch of them ended up out here. And being so dry, they survived.
I see. We'll pan these Jeeps real quick.
This is one of the 3 that I brought out with me. This is a fully restored 1954 M38 Army Jeep, A1. That's what they were kind of coming onto the scene in Korea, used still largely in Vietnam. We still had some of these we used in the Air Force in the 80s.
Right.
This is another one I wanted, Air Police, to go with the MP one. This one I brought with me from Iowa. This one actually I got from here, but
Painted it up.
yep, well, it was all bondoed and beat up, but
Sure.
the metal's solid though, so even if they're banged up, you can work with it.
Right.
If it's rusted, it's just a pain. But get to looking, and they were made the same month and year.
Wow.
So 70 years later, they're sitting
Still-
side by side again
Still.
from different parts of the country.
Wow. That's great.
It's what we would call a Franken Jeep. It's parts as parts. The old Jeep stuff, a lot of it was interchangeable. So this is actually a CJ2A from 47, and it's got a World War II tub on it. Even the parts were coming out here, so they had a messed up tub, and they found an original new Army tub to put on it.
Right.
And so everything's been tuned up on it, so it actually makes a good trail Jeep.
Wow.
And for big guys,
You can fit in it.
well, they've moved the wheel well back, so we can.
Nice.
This is a 1947 Willys pickup truck. After the war, they were so popular, they started with a whole family of different Willys Jeep type vehicles. And there's a ton of those that made it out here. But again, because of the dry climate, a lot of those survived, but they're gone everywhere else.
Down the line we go.
This is a U.S. Coast Guard marked. I don't really have the history on it. It's the CJ6, which is a longer bed. But with the Coast Guard and the Air Force and all of them back in the day, they didn't have military vehicles. And they're stateside, so a lot of their stuff was actually civilian vehicles they had bought and used for that purpose. This is just like the CJ7, which is a bigger style. Again,
With the
could have been used for a little bit of anything. It wasn't normally issued in the military other than local purchases by the different groups. And the contractors used a lot of that. We've had, or mercenaries, they used to call them.
Right.
They would have this kind of stuff.
And
That's an actual M38A1 military Jeep. I don't really know the history per se, but I ended up with a lot of these 38A1s, so we'll just have one for each branch. And
great.
there's the Navy and there's the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps stuff's always beat up, so got to keep it accurate. This is a really rare bird that I just got here this last summer. It's the ambulance. Again, it's that longer bed,
Right.
but it was custom made to take litters. So there's all these special features on it that are really, really rare to find. They only probably made 5,000, and there's just a handful that survived. And I found that out here, and it looks beat up, but the metal is actually really, really good on it.
Wow.
That's a 55 M38A1 with the actual military hardtop on it. You know, if you're in Germany and some of those places, especially like the Air Force was in all kinds of really cold places, that would have been a godsend to have one of those actual military hardtops. These are kind of like a Jeep with track. All the years I was in the military, I'd never seen one of these. They call them a Weasel. It's the M29. It's an amphibious vehicle that's designed, they can go right off the landing craft, through the ocean, onto the beach, whatever. And because of that track and power, it'll go anywhere.
Wow.
And it would float.
And float.
Yeah, but it's made by Studebaker. Has the same engine in it as a Deuce and a Half, so they have plenty of power.
Wow.
This concoction is actually my first Jeep. It came from Iowa. I bought a trailer and they threw this in. It was upside down in a pond.
Jeez.
So we drug it out, and I had run an antique shop in Iowa on the side for years, and we just painted it all green, put all this stuff on it, and so many people have never really seen an Army Jeep. They were coming from all over to look at this Army Jeep, and well, it's close, but it's not, but still, it gives people an idea.
Right.
It preserves the history.
And we have a mountain howitzer or something.
Kind of.
Simulated.
It's just a simulated one. We put this veteran memorial display in, and everything looks better with a cannon in front of it. So,
sure.
They wouldn't let me take any of these home with me, so we just kind of had to take it.
I see. You couldn't fit that in your duffel bag?
Well, man, I tried. If I'd have had a motorhome, maybe I'd.
And this one?
This is a 1943 MB, which was a World War II Willys manufactured Jeep. It's pretty well outfitted the way they would have had it from the field. Some of the significant things you'll see to tell the difference, you get all the grill slots. Well, right here. If this headlight doesn't come out into here, those are the World War II Jeeps. So that's a really quick tell.
I see.
After World War II, they went to a bigger one, so everything after that was fewer slots and bigger headlights.
Oh, wow.
What do we think this is? Almost every picture you see of a Jeep in Germany, Europe, in World War II is going to have this on the front.
Because there's a wire going across the road, you want to catch it or something, right?
Well, if they had a machine gun on it, the windshield's going to be down.
Uh-huh.
And without that, it's not going to be a good day for anybody in the front seat.
I see.
So it didn't take long to catch on to that.
It would catch a booby trap wire that's going across the road.
Yep. And you almost always see them with a helmet on top, a German helmet. I think it was kind of like, yeah, we're on to you, we're in your face
I
kind
see.
of thing.
And here's the half track.
Yep, that's a 43 half track that came from out here in the valley, was brought out for logging after the war.
Wow.
Now, again, with this dry climate out here, the guy I got it from several years ago, he had it running. He was driving it around the back lot. It's got a big 6-cylinder white in it. Now, it's just got replacement panels on for where the armor would be on the back because it was gone.
Sure.
But all that front is the same. The only problem with it is, well, if the track is really bad, it's one piece.
Right.
If it breaks, you got a real problem.
Yes. And they don't make those anymore, do they?
Well, actually, they do. I don't know, you notice that the Israeli flag, guess who the last people to use these in battle were? The Israelis in the 6-Day War.
6-Day War.
So when they had it in their military, they made new track. So there is some of that track still floating around.
Wow. A straight 6 by White, who makes the semi-truck motors and stuff. Wow.
Now this little guy here.
That's a airport truck or something they call it.
Well, it's the tug that they would use to move the aircraft on the flight line.
Yes.
And on the Navy carrier.
Right.
That's got the same engine in it as your power wagon over there.
Jeez.
Well, if you look at the fenders, you'll see they're an inch thick. Everything they could do to add weight to it, well, they had to have the weight just to get the traction for that much power.
Wow.
Now, the goofy Navy guys, when they get a hold of them and they want to test the catapult,
They launch
they
one.
would launch one of these. Well, if it'll launch a tug, it'll launch a plane. But I think probably half of the tugs we ever bought are in the ocean.
Now, would this be a Deuce and a Half, or
Nope.
this is
It's
bigger?
about the same footprint, but it's a 5-ton.
I see.
It's a 1966 Kaiser Jeep manufactured 5-ton dump truck.
Wow.
But you'll see like some of the ordnance on it.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing that they come up with was these convoy security vehicles in Vietnam. So they would take a big truck, whatever they could get, and they'd just arm the shit out of it. They'd put machine guns and cannons and
Right.
whatever they could, and that'd be your point vehicle. So if they run into contact on a convoy, they could deal with it.
And the steel dump part of it is its protection.
Well, usually they would, I may do that yet, they would put steel armor plate on both sides.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, it would be like almost like a tank. And I've seen them where they actually put like a 113 armored personnel carrier in the back.
Wow.
But if you think about the ammo they would need, a minigun takes 6,000 rounds a minute, an ammo can is 100. Think about how much ammo you would have to be able to carry just to feed those things.
And here's another little swamp buggy.
Yeah, that's the M24. It was the earlier version of the other one. Again, they brought them all out here. I think it was the 10th Mountains out here. And the ranchers would buy them up because they were your first snow cats. If you think about that thing in snow, it was awesome.
I bet you.
Yep.
And another M37?
Nope. This is your WC51.
Okay.
You can kind of tell by the cab. They don't have a conventional cab.
Yes.
It kind of goes right into a box.
Right.
It's essentially the same truck. Most of the parts would interchange. This came from the same old boy that had that half track, and he thought he was going to cut up and make a rock crawl or something, and I talked him out of that. But but I did find the rest of the parts and been putting it back together.
Wonderful. And this is not off a Volkswagen, I would say.
But World War II, there was stuff everywhere. They crashed a B-24 bomber in Gunnison in World War II, 1943.
Training or something?
Not sure, but that's the tires off of that bomber. Some farmer thought that you could make an agricultural cart out of them. Well, that's as far as they got, but they're still kind of intriguing, I'd say, for the kids to get an idea how big that was.
You said a B-24?
B-24 bomber.
B-24
Liberator,
bomber.
they call it.
Liberator.
It's a great big kind of a boxier one.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, the B-17s are like the Corvette of bombers. They're a little more graceful.
Right.
And they had that B-24 is a great big kind of a...
But that was a workhorse.
Oh, yeah. Yep. They made thousands of both. Now this little thing here, we started a library. I collect up all the historical books I can find.
Yes.
I've got these old guys that I know, and they're worried about, well, what's going to happen to their collection of books. Libraries won't take them.
Yes.
Kids don't want them.
Yes.
And I said, well, you donate them to me.
We're going to put them in the library.
I've got racks on both sides. There's thousands of good reference library books. You know, if it's on the wars, the Indians, the politics, we're going to save it.
That's wonderful.
Those things don't change.
That's wonderful. Well, Chief, it's just been wonderful being here. That's Chief Gillette here at the Gillette Museum in, you pronounce it.
Saguache.
Saguache.
Yep.
Not just Saguache, but Saguache.
Yeah, Ute Indian, land of blue water.
Land of blue water.
Did you catch this sign up here? That's kind of what we started calling it when I got out here, and I realized they were crushing all this stuff and the steel prices were high. So that's when I got out of control, rounding it up.
Where's the closest place to here that has this kind of collection? Colorado, Arizona, where, have you heard of
I don't know of one. They've got a guy called Dragon Man over in the Springs.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And he's got a bunch of really nice vehicles, but it's not right-handy. My biggest advantage is it's right here. I mean, you can't miss it, and it's easy in, easy out.
Well, someday we'll put the 95 Chevy G20 in here. We'll have to mount some guns to it.
We'll have to paint it first.
Yes. Thank you so much for the tour. We
Good
sure
to visit
appreciate
with
it. And this is your Coastal Kev signing off.